Hello and welcome. You're going to hear the air conditioner. It's way too hot to turn it off. And this one was late. I had a very, very busy weekend, and I was not able to record last weekend. But this is a very, very cool episode. There's a lot of names. I wrote them all down. Some really great reveals, and I'm really excited to talk about it. Episode 46, Slipping. Our case number here is CAT1RB C5 257-130-12024-130-62024. Reanimation variable purpose. So this is back in the protocol world, right? We have Alice not finding Klaus Schweitzer and being very upset about it. Heinrich teases her a little bit, gets a little bit more fear out of her, and then basically tells her, like, hey, you're going to have to go back home and look now. You've exhausted all your options here, but if you got the system, there's a good chance that you got Klaus too, right? We know he was there, but she doesn't know that. Then also, we have Gwen and Celia have a moment where they both realize that they got everything they wanted, and it sucks. It's not worth all that they had to go through to get it, and things are worse now. And Gwen's kind of a bad boss. I would not have a great attitude coming into work every day working for her. But then we get our case, which is the most interesting thing about this episode and takes up the bulk of this episode, right? It is a meeting of the Elric Capital Board of Directors. I didn't mention Elric Capital when it came up before in the Booth Mark II episode, which is 36. Yeah, 36. I didn't mention it before then. I thought it was just a fun reference to the Elric brothers from Full Metal Alchemist. I was like, that's cool, but there's no point bringing that up. Should have, because apparently they're way more important than we thought. Because Elric Capital is connected to Zoro Trade of episode 13, the gambling app with Darian. It is connected to the Booth Mark II, and it is connected to our very first case of the Magnus Protocol. And you might have missed it, but it's such a simple mention of Mr. Adam also went by Arthur Winstead. And so we're going to get into all of that, but I want to break this down piece by piece, right? We have here this corporation that clearly is very, very invested in the action of the Fears, maybe in how much profit they can make at the Fears. At one point, 43 million is brought up of how much they made in Zoro Trade, and that is an insignificant number to either the CEO or the CFO. So we get names here. Jeffrey Malachi, Zach Francis Allen, Ina Lake, Iris Lee, Mark Mitchell, and a redacted CEO and CFO. If 43 million is nothing, right? What kind of money are these people making off of Fear? And you might say, well, we don't know that they're doing it with Fear, right? But Zoro Trade wasn't an accident. They invested on that on purpose. They invested in the Booth Mark II on purpose. There is an agent known as Teeth that was a special investment that died. He was killed in an altercation in Glasgow before Christmas. So just not there, right? But they're investing in these supernatural things. G. Mears, Inside Out, renounces Elric Capital, and they decide not to go after him. It's not worth it. Even though apparently it was a pretty rough video that he sent because they had to go to a different meeting room because there was a recess to clean up. And the janitorial staff would say that the room took hours to fully remove the smell. What, did they vomit? Are they monsters in themselves? And they reacted poorly to this video. I really want to know. I tried to find connections with these names with alchemists, and it was really tough. So I'm not going to just sit here and try to make connections where there aren't any. I'm not saying these people are alchemists, but if they aren't, they are at least employing alchemists. And we see that with Augustine, right? That's not an accident. I think I've mentioned it before. Augustine, one of my personal heroes, right? Rumored to be an alchemist, though also rumored not to be. It's a big story back and forth. We talked about it with the Philosopher's Stone with Albertus Magnus, who Augustine was his student, and supposedly when Albertus Magnus died, he handed left his Philosopher's Stone for Augustine. The problem being that Augustine died a few years before Albertus Magnus did, so couldn't have happened, right? But in this world could be different. So Augustine there is definitely an interesting name for Dr. Augustine to have, but just definitely a group of people that are doing terrible things, profiting off of terrible things, right? Investing in terrible things. And I would not be surprised if their money is not also in the OIAR, or if their money's not in Starkwall, right? Because they're definitely a company that is fine with people dying, as we'll see, if it means they can make some more money. And the really interesting thing here is Dr. Augustine was doing extractive grief service. Augustine was using what I assume to be a homunculus to eat cadavers, to look like that person, to have the voice of that person, to almost be that person, but not perfect, to try and comfort the grieved. And supposedly, as we see with this homunculus, as I believe it to be a homunculus anyway, with Adam, that this being is doing it out of love, it says, but then when we see the way it acts with Harriet Winstead in episode 1, it's hard to believe that it's out of love, right? And you may say, well, how do we know that was it? Because one of the names that it gives is Arthur Winstead, because theoretically it has all of these different people in itself, right? It ate them, it devoured them, and it claimed them, it wore parts of them, which is why when she calls out to Arthur, thinking it's Arthur in the cemetery, Arthur Winstead responds, parts of him, some of him. I think it's some of him. Let me get the exact line here. It's been a while since episode. Yeah, some of him. And then laughs and breaks bones laughing. Maybe that's out of love of like, hey, look, I'm back. Everything's fine. But I don't feel like it is, right? I feel like that's a lie. And this thing tries to present a presentation. I can't speak today. I'm trying to read Robert Blank, which is another one of the aliases that Adam has used by eating that man, supposedly, with Richard Kent, who was on the board and was over Dr. Augustine's research before his death and subsequent resignation. Adam brings this presentation about all the good that he can do. The board surely wants him to continue the research while he's wearing Dr. Augustine's skin, by the way. He attempted to extract what he would need while Augustine was alive, but it left him in such a state that it was better to just go ahead and kill him. And when he's told no, because the only way that he can bring money back to the board is by giving them information about bank statements and bank accounts and credit cards of, and I guess valuables, of the people he pretends to be, he flies into a rage and murders Mr. Malachi, as well as 2 security guards before dying, and then dying again, and then dying again a few minutes later. And we don't get to see the coroner's report. I'm not sure he's fully dead yet because Augustine couldn't figure out a way to kill him himself. Meeting adjourned. What a crazy good statement, right? This is maybe my favorite case out of all of them. They're behind Zorro Trade. They're behind the Booth Mark II. They're behind episode 1. They're making homunculi, right? They are fingers into so many terrible things going on, and they love it. The reaction to Malachi dying is that before we adjourn this meeting, we need to make a motion for a replacement for Mr. Malachi. Unanimous? Okay. Unanimous. We need a replacement for Mr. Malachi. One absent, of course, being Mr. Malachi. Meeting adjourned. I love them. They're so evil. I love them so much. I wish we knew so much more about them, and I would not be surprised at all if one of the 2 redacteds is either a Jonah Magnus, a Albertus Magnus, or a different Magnus, right? A Bouchard, or Trevor. I'm just saying, think about it. It could be. It could be. And then this episode ends with Celia waking up in the middle of nowhere because it hasn't stopped. She sacrificed Sam, and it didn't succeed at anything. So now not only is it still happening, but now she doesn't even have Sam to help her. I am so in. This, I already love Protocol, but this episode just skyrocketed me. What an incredible turn of events. And of course, Edward Elric, Alphonse Elric, the Full Metal Alchemist and his brother, right? But, I love this. I want so much more. Just having it as minutes of a meeting too is so good. Because all the horror is there, but there's no real reaction to it because it's in the minutes. So-and-so said this, and so-and-so did this, and just, I love it. I love it. What a wonderful episode. Gives us so much more to think about, too. If you notice something with these names that I missed, the other aliases for Alii, for Adam are Robert Blank, Michael Egan, Arthur Winstead, and Alistair Brown. I also don't think it's an accident that Augustine called his creation, his first being that he made alive, Adam. Come on, man. Really? So I'm very interested in where this is going. I wanted so badly to find connections with the Elric Capital Board's names. Malachi is in Malachi out of the Bible. Jeffrey is in Geoffrey Chaucer. I don't know. I want more, but I don't have any. So let me know if there's some that you noticed that I missed. If you can figure out who Teeth is being referenced there, is that I don't know. Teeth is an interesting one. And then G. Mears, Inside Out. I'm not recognizing that one either, but it could just be that I'm missing a clue there that one of you might notice. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Again, I'm so sorry it took so long to get this one out. I'm going to try and have the next one out as soon as possible, because by the time you're watching this, I think the next episode's out early for patrons. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And until next time, I've been Trey. This has been The Full Spectrum. Remember to always enjoy the full spectrum that Magnus has to offer. Oh, real quick, if you don't know what a homunculus is, I'm so sorry. I've referenced it in the alchemy video, which has been going up in this corner of every episode. But homunculi are the little man in the flask, right? It is a living being that is created through various different ways, some of which are horrifying, that would normally be smaller than a person, but through different ways could be made bigger, or they could just be created at variable sizes. They could change their own size. If you've ever seen Full Metal Alchemist, they're a big thing in Full Metal Alchemist, but homunculi are a terrifying concept, and we might have already had them in the episode with the Hilltop Center and the donations. That very easily could have been homunculi, or it could have been a creature that multiplied. But yeah, just should have mentioned that sooner. I'm so sorry I didn't.